Markets aren't quiet right now, they're deceptive. Because while most retail investors are either distracted by meme pumps or scared off by short-term volatility, the infrastructure coins, XRP, XLM, HBAR, and XDC, are quietly locking into position. These aren't hype plays. These are the digital backbones being embedded into the next phase of the global financial system. And if you're holding any of them, you need to understand what's coming. Because preparation isn't optional anymore. The real shift is happening behind the curtain. And when it hits the surface, the window to position before the explosion will already be closed. This isn't just about protecting your portfolio anymore. It's about preparing your family, your future, your legacy. The signals aren't coming, they're here. Let's start with the biggest lie in crypto, that you'll be able to see it coming. The truth? By the time it's obvious, it's already too late. That's how institutional systems are designed. They don't move in public, they move in silence. If you're holding XRP, XLM, HBAR, or XDC, you've probably watched this pattern repeat again and again. Major announcements drop. Infrastructure deals get signed. On-chain transactions spike. Smart money positions. And yet, prices remain flat. Until suddenly they don't. Here's the sequence you need to understand. Regulatory clarity happens first, quietly. No media circus. Just guidance issued, frameworks adopted, and the gate cracks open. Pilot programs go live, quietly. Banks start testing cross-border corridors. Stablecoins get deployed in sovereign environments. Transaction volumes begin to stir beneath the surface. Institutional accumulation kicks in, quietly. Derivatives contracts build. OTC desks fill. Whales buy without disrupting spot. Then finally, the narrative hits. And by then, it's not a setup, it's a launchpad. That's what's unfolding right now. Ripple is finalizing banking APIs and liquidity hubs while testing CBDCs across multiple jurisdictions. Stellar has deployed with MoneyGram, launched a national stablecoin with Palau, and is rolling out Sorabon for enterprise-grade smart contracts. Hedera is onboarding governments and Fortune 500s for everything from ESG data integrity to digital identity, all running on its council-approved infrastructure. XDC has moved from theory to action with real-world trade documentation platforms in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. This is not speculation anymore. It's execution. These projects aren't waiting for hype, they're laying down rails for a new financial operating system. What used to be optional is quickly becoming mandatory plumbing for a digitized, tokenized economy. If you're looking for some flashy green candle to tell you when to buy, you've already missed the point. The real signal isn't price, it's architecture. And every single one of these tokens, XRP, XLM, HBAR, and XDC, is embedded inside the greatest financial upgrade since the creation of SWIFT. This is the rewiring of global finance. And if you're paying attention, the signals aren't subtle anymore, they're screaming. But only to those who know where to look. Because when the surface-level noise fades, what's left is what's real. Real adoption, real throughput, real integrations, real infrastructure. And that's the kind of foundation that doesn't just pump, it reshapes markets. From lawsuit to liquidity beast. XRP isn't just a survivor, it's now a cornerstone of the new liquidity infrastructure being built beneath the global financial system. When the SEC lawsuit began, most assumed it would bury Ripple. Instead, it forged a weapon. A weapon that is now legal clarity, real-world partnerships, and global liquidity corridors. While headlines obsessed over legal filings, Ripple kept moving. Expanded on-demand liquidity, ODL, corridors across Latin America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. Launched enterprise-grade CBDC pilots with over 5 governments and central banks. Signed deals with the likes of Santander, SBI, Tranglo, the Digital Pound Foundation, and even partnered with Palau's stablecoin program. Ripple wasn't building hype. It was building rails. And here's what that unlocks. Cross-border FX settlement in seconds instead of days. Programmable liquidity sourcing via XRP for banks, fintechs, and enterprises. CBDC interoperability, using XRP as the bridge between sovereign digital currencies. The Ripple Liquidity Hub is the backbone, combining real-world asset tokenization, payment rails, and instant liquidity sourcing. Whether you're a bank, an exchange, or a country, Ripple's stack can route your value faster and cheaper than any SWIFT-based system. XRP is no longer about retail hype. It's about replacing the outdated plumbing of finance with programmable liquidity. And when utility demand kicks in, the revaluation won't be linear. It will be sharp, violent, inevitable. Because the very thing that suppressed XRP's price, the lawsuit, is now its biggest asset. It has legal precedent. It has regulatory clarity. And it has enterprise-grade integration with real use cases. So when the world turns the liquidity tap toward crypto, XRP isn't just ready, it's positioned at the valve. This isn't the end of the XRP story, it's the beginning of its dominance. Stellar XL, quietly replacing the old guard. If Ripple is storming the front gate of traditional finance, Stellar is slipping in through the side door and installing new wiring while the old system sleeps. Stellar's brilliance isn't just in its speed or low fees. It's in how it's embedding itself into real-world financial pipelines without sounding the alarms. No hype. No theatrics. Just results. MoneyGram's fiat-to-crypto ramps are now live across over 180 countries, using Stellar rails to move value between cash and digital assets. Palau's national stablecoin, PSC, is running directly on Stellar, proving that even sovereign entities trust its rails for CBDC-like functionality. NGOs and humanitarian organizations are distributing relief funds and aid via Stellar, cutting weeks of red tape and overhead from international disbursements. Sorobon, Stellar's smart contract layer, is now activated, ushering in decentralized finance with a compliance-first approach tailored for institutions. USDC on Stellar is now one of the fastest and cheapest ways to move digital dollars globally, and it's being adopted by fintechs who don't want Ethereum's congestion or Solana's instability. What we're witnessing isn't a blockchain project gaining traction. It's a financial protocol being woven into the fabric of cross-border value exchange. Stellar is replacing SWIFT not with noise, but with functionality. It doesn't try to outmarket Ethereum or outmeme Dogecoin. It just works. Reliably, efficiently, and above all quietly. Now as Sorobon smart contracts go live and developers start building composable, enterprise-grade dApps, Stellar is crossing the threshold from simple payments to programmable finance infrastructure. The beauty of Stellar lies in its balance. Lightweight enough for microtransactions and remittances. Robust enough to host central bank-backed stablecoins. Fast enough to serve real-time needs. Compliant enough to attract institutional adoption. In short, it's everything a modern financial network needs, and it's live. And as capital begins to rotate out of speculative tokens and into actual utility chains, Stellar becomes harder to ignore. Not because it shouts, but because it delivers. The smart money is already watching. They see the wallet activity, the developer momentum, the transactional throughput. So when the world wakes up to the infrastructure quietly humming in the background, XM won't just surge. It will be recognized for what it already is, the quiet architect of the new economy. This isn't a moonshot. It's a silent coup. And Stellar is already inside the system. HBAR, from hashgraph to the next enterprise standard. In a space crowded with hype and inflated promises, HBAR stands alone as the blockchain most likely to become default enterprise infrastructure. Not because it's loud, but because it's governed by giants. Hedera hashgraph isn't just another layer. It's a fully permissioned, council-governed distributed ledger with unmatched efficiency, and it's trusted by the kind of names that make regulators pay attention. Council members include Google, operating a node and providing technical oversight, IBM, integrating Hedera into enterprise cloud services, Dell Technologies, expanding IoT and data trust layers via Hedera, Boeing, eyeing digital credentials and supply chain integrations. Standard Bank, leveraging the network for tokenized finance in emerging markets. And that's not even the full list. With over 30 governing council members, each a major industry player across sectors, tech, banking, energy, telecom, and logistics, HBAR isn't building speculation. It's building infrastructure approved by the old guard. What is Hedera actually doing? Tokenized asset issuance at scale via the HTS, Hedera Token Service. ESG tracking with full audit trails for emissions, carbon credits, and supply chain sourcing. Digital identity via partnerships with the UAE government and others. CBDC testbeds and stablecoin pilots with full regulatory alignment. DeFi protocols like SaucerSwap operating with finality and fairness native to Hashgraph consensus. Hedera is the only chain where performance and permission coexist. Its consensus mechanism isn't just fast, it's ABFT, asynchronous Byzantine fault-tolerant, meaning it's math-level secure for mission-critical data. And now, as compliance becomes the gatekeeper to real adoption, Hedera's architecture is doing something no hype coin can. It's becoming the standard. The market is shifting. VC firms, governments, and institutional funds are moving away from raw speculation and into purpose-built ledgers that solve real enterprise problems. That's where HBAR shines. This is the chain for governments launching regulated digital assets, enterprises tokenizing real-world assets, RWAs, ESG-conscious firms automating verifiable data. And when the next financial wave demands compliant, scalable, and battle-tested infrastructure, HBAR is already built for it. It's not loud, but it's unstoppable. Because the moment ESG regulations, CBDC deployments, and tokenized capital markets hit scale, HBAR won't just be part of the system, it'll be the system. This isn't a layer, one looking for a niche. This is the future backbone of trust in a tokenized world. XD, the trade finance dark horse. While retail chases meme tokens and short-term hype, the smartest money in the room is watching something else entirely, trade finance. And that's where XDC is quietly taking over. Trade finance is one of the most outdated, paper-reliant, and inefficient sectors in global finance. We're talking $19 trillion in global trade flows, much of it still dependent on manual documentation, fragmented systems, and slow settlement processes. Enter XDC. XDC isn't just another blockchain. It's a hybrid enterprise-ready DLT engineered from the ground up to fix the deep inefficiencies in trade documentation, asset tokenization, and institutional settlement. Where is it already integrated? Trade Phoenix, digitizing invoices, bills of lading, and letters of credit. TFD Initiative, connecting DeFi liquidity to real-world trade assets. European banks and commodity platforms, onboarding to XDC for near-instant, low-cost cross-border settlement. This isn't a testnet. These are real-world flows being processed through XDC's network. This ISO 20022 compliant, ultra-low fee, fractions of a cent, energy efficient, less than 0.0001 kilowatt-hours per transaction, built for compliance with hybrid public-private ledger capabilities. In an era where regulatory clarity and enterprise integration are king, XDC is already 10 steps ahead of most so-called enterprise blockchains. And yet, it remains massively under the radar. Smart investors are already watching. Token velocity showing increased usage across tokenized invoices and digital trade documents. Wallet distribution indicating growing institutional interest. On-chain volume and validator metrics creeping up week after week. Because here's the truth. When traditional finance finally wakes up and realizes that the $2 trillion gap in trade financing can be solved with instant digital settlement, there will only be one network ready, XDC. As the world tokenizes everything from real estate to invoices to commodities, XDC's hybrid model allows institutions to stay compliant, private, and connected, while still benefiting from blockchain speed and cost. This is the infrastructure play that most people won't see coming. But the smart ones are already preparing. If you hold these four, get ready. This isn't financial advice. It's structural awareness. XRP, XDC. These aren't just coins. They're financial infrastructure protocols, purpose-built to replace the legacy systems of banking, cross-border settlement, identity, and trade finance. If you're holding them, you're not gambling, you're positioning yourself for the reset. And if your family doesn't see it yet, show them this video. Because the real shift won't be televised. It'll be embedded into APIs, financial rails, and government-backed pilots. By the time the headlines catch up, retail will be priced out. The signals are already flashing. The capital is already rotating. The system is already shifting. Now the only question is, will you and your loved ones be ready when the floodgates open?